Imagine fighting for a purpose so powerful that nothing could stop you. Imagine you held the keys to the most magnificent healing power, but you were not allowed to use it. Imagine that this healing power allowed people to express life to their fullest potential, to create full function, but if it was practiced, they would be jailed. So when I heard that and read that, one thought came to mind, that if people were willing to risk jail for this cause, then that means that they believed 100% that this healing power was worth more than the extraordinary consequences they face, which was jail. And you see, this is what the chiropractors in the early 1900s, they had to go through. They were literally jailed for practicing medicine without a license, even though they were actually not practicing medicine at all. You know, they were actually doing something completely different, and they weren't even in the same paradigm as allopathy. You know, what they were doing is that they were adjusting the spine to create health and function. They were not manipulating the spine for pain relief. Because a lot of chiropractors think that chiropractic is about pain relief, and it was never invented for that purpose. It was invented for the purpose of creating health, for creating function. And I mean, look at this picture. When these chiropractors were jailed, you had literally their entire patients come to and surround their jail cell and literally protest. And these signs say, "We want our doctor back." And they're literally all around, and they would not leave until they got released from jail. Because they literally wanted to put a stop to chiropractic, but it was never allopathy. They always say it was practicing medicine without a license. In fact, it was so much more and so much different. You know, you can manipulate the spine to relieve pain, but you can never call that chiropractic, because that was never the premise. It was always to adjust the spine to create health and function. That's always what it was, and that's always what it will be. So, to understand chiropractic, what we first have to do is we have to understand the basic stress response of the body. And this is important. So imagine, you know, you're in contact with a stressor. You know, imagine that you're just walking in the forest, you're hanging out, you're just strolling along the park, you know, with your significant other. You know, it's a nice romantic evening. Then all of a sudden, boom! A tiger jumps out. What are you gonna do? Are you going to go and, you know, try to pet the tiger? You're going to go hang out and play with it? Of course not, okay? What you're going to do is that your body is going to release a mass amount of stress hormones instantly. It's going to detect that stimulus as threatening, and you're going to release a ton of stress hormones. Now, those stress hormones include things like epinephrine, norepinephrine, or you might have heard of adrenaline, noradrenaline, and cortisol. So when you increase these stress hormones, what is that going to do to the heart? Well, it's going to increase the cardiac output. It's going to increase your heart rate, blood pressure, vasoconstriction. And think about it as like a garden hose analogy. You know, if you have no nozzle on the hose, and that's just like standard right there, think about if you put your thumb over it. You notice how the water just shoots out a lot faster. Well, that's exactly what your heart does, pushing blood out through the blood vessels. It's increasing that cardiac output so it can change and it can move those stress hormones to every single place in the body, so it gets to every single spot fast, because you need to escape from the tiger now. You don't have time to waste. So then what's going to happen? Well, what you're going to do is you're going to upregulate body breakdown, all your catabolic activities. And you're thinking, what? You're going to break down the body? Well, think about this. Your body needs all the energy stored now to escape this tiger. So why would your body waste on building up things, on healing, growth, and repair? Why would your body do that? No, it wants to release your energy stores in the bloodstream so you have available energy now to escape that tiger. Because again, this stress response is only made for an acute situation. It's not made for long term. It's made for survival in an acute situation. So if it's going to increase body breakdown, then it's going to decrease all your anabolic activities. It's going to decrease healing, growth, and repair. Because again, healing, growth, and repair is very metabolically expensive. So if we are trying to devote all our energy in escaping this tiger, we do not want to be storing energy. You just can't do it. Now, you're going to decrease your immune system, your cell-mediated immunity. And again, the reason is because it's very metabolically expensive for your immune system to work. You know, think about it when you guys have had the flu or the cold. One thing you'll notice is that you're completely wiped out. because your immune system is hard at work. It's using all the energy, so we feel fatigued and tired as a result. So that's why our immune system gets down-regulated in acute stressors. That's normal. You're going to decrease factual learning and memory. When I'm running from a tiger, the last thing I need to do is learn a history lesson. The last thing I need to do is learn a French language. You know, you just don't need to do that because all your energy is dictated to escape and survival. And this is also why, and you know, when you're under chronic stress, this is also why they see things like your brain cells actually shrink, especially in an area called your hippocampus. Those brain cells actually small and they decrease in number. But what's cool is when you get rid of the stress response and you add movement, you're actually going to increase those cells. So there's a way to do that. But that's also why people who, you know, anticipating a future stressful event, you know, say that we have an exam next week. Some people know the material very well, but they view this test as such a scary thing that they end up failing the test. Because they're anticipating that test as a future stressful event, their body's going to release stress hormones and they're not going to be able to function. They're not going to be able to think and have memory. So that's why people fail tests sometimes even though they know the material. And that's also why some people who don't know the material can just study all night and not be stressed out at all and do good on the test. So it's not fair, is it? No. You're going to increase the sensitivity of your sensory organs. So basically all your senses are going to be stimulated under an acute stress response. And again, that's going to increase your chances of survival. The more senses I have, the more I can hear, see, feel, the more chances I'm going to be able to survive. Now think about this. If this becomes chronic, what happens? If your senses are very stimulated, you're going to become very easily distracted. That sounds just like ADHD to me. Because these kids are under so much stress that their senses are so stimulated that they can't concentrate on one thing. So then what do the people do? Give them drugs. But that's exactly what ADHD is, guys. You're going to increase cholesterol and clotting factors in the blood. You're going to increase cholesterol? Are you serious? What? Think about it. Cholesterol is vital for wound healing, for mood regulation, for any body repair your body does. So you think you might need that when you're running from a tiger? I think so. Same as the clotting factors in the blood. You think you might have a wound if you're running from a tiger? Heck yes. So your body's already preparing you for this spot, for this acute situation. You're also going to increase blood sugar and fatty acids. And the reason is, again, we don't want to be storing fat and storing sugar. We want to be releasing it into the bloodstream so that energy is available now to devote all our energy to escape and survive. Now, this tiger analogy, this is just a form of a stressor. But really, what a stressor is anytime you eat, move, and think in ways that are not genetically congruent for health. For instance, anytime we eat a horrible meal chronically, anytime we just have a chronically bad diet, anytime we think chronically bad thoughts, we're under tons of emotional stress, trying to meet deadlines at work, you know, anytime we're chronically not moving enough. That's all a stressor that all puts us in this response here. So this response is absolutely intelligent and it can save your life in an acute situation. And that's why our bodies were, you know, equipped with this. The problem is that it's only made for acute situations. But what we're doing now is that we're applying this physiology, this stressful response, and we're basically something that was designed for just a temporary situation, we're now extending that for days, months, even years. You know, we're chronically stressed out. You know, if you're trying to meet one deadline at work and all of a sudden you say you meet that deadline, well, guess what? Another stressor comes in and we're stressed again. So it never stops in today's society. And in fact, if we didn't have this physiological response of stress, increasing cholesterol, increasing heart rate, blood glucose, all of that stuff, we would literally die because you wouldn't be able to adapt to any stressor in our life and we would die. So what happens? This was supposed to be an acute stress response. What happens if it turns chronic? You know, chronically thinking bad, like we talked about, chronically not moving. Well, the same physiological response is going to happen. However, that physiological response is going to be now chronic and almost permanent, not temporary anymore like it was supposed to be. So again, if we're chronically stressed out, you're going to have a decrease in healing, growth, repair, memory, brain function, organ function, immune system function. Do you think, does that not sound like a lot of people today? I mean, today alone, I had 10 people say, I feel like I'm in a brain fog. I can't think of anything. And my blood pressure's so high. My doctor doesn't know what to do. And I'm like, you're stressed. Calm down, take a breath. You're gonna increase your blood glucose, fatty acids, cholesterol, and insulin. So that's, again, contributing to diabetes, all that stuff. Now, when you increase insulin chronically in the bloodstream, that down-regulates your production of human growth hormone. Human growth hormone is your longevity hormone, your anti-aging hormone. It's your healing, growth, and repair hormone. It's what makes us look good and feel good. Also, when you have a lot of insulin in your body, you cannot produce and utilize magnesium, which is the most deficient mineral in the US today. So it's very important. It's not surprising that magnesium is the most deficient, because we're all chronically stressed and we all can't utilize the magnesium that we have in our body. Magnesium has to do with muscle relaxation, and that includes skeletal and smooth muscle. So it relaxes your arteries, it relaxes your heart, relaxes your skeletal muscle. It's very good for muscle fatigue. So think about this. If we cannot relax our blood vessels, if we cannot relax our heart, then that means our blood vessels are going to be chronically constricted. We're going to have, our heart is going to be chronically pumping blood into these constricted arteries, working its butt off just to try to meet up with the demands of the body. And it's not sustainable. And that's why you'll notice people who are stressed, they just keep getting sicker and sicker and sicker. What they got to do is they got to stop just focusing on the increased cholesterol, the increased blood pressure they get as a result. They got to find out what caused that. They got to look at that chronic stressor, whether it's not moving at all, not exercising, eating horrible. They got to confront that chronic stressor and they got to remove it from their life. So then they actually remove the cause. And that's what we want to do. Now, again, it's not pathology. Having high cholesterol, having high blood pressure, that's not pathology. That's your body reacting in its most intelligent way possible to adapt to that stressful environment, that chronic stressor. So even though allopathy might label all of those things that happens as disease, it's absolutely not a disease. It is completely 100% intelligent. It's just your body needs to your body can only hold up for so long because it has to do that under a chronic stressful environment. Now, these changes that happen when you're under stress, it's no different than your blood vessels being raised in number when you're at a high altitude. It's the exact same thing. Your body senses a different environment, a higher altitude, so your body's going to make more blood cells. Makes sense. Your body senses a stressful environment, your body's going to go through the stress response. The exact same thing. So you can't think one is intelligent and one is not. It's just not the way it works. Now, where does chiropractic fit into all this? Does this have anything to do with that? And of course, the answer is yes. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. Now, this is what the latest research says right here. Proper motion and alignment of the spine is a genetic requirement for health. So that means that a lack of proper motion and alignment in the spine represents a stressor. So if we're chronically out of alignment, if we're chronically having degeneration in our joints, we're going to be in the chronic stress response causing all of that we just talked about. So let's do an example. Your spinal joints aren't moving properly. You're out of alignment. Your discs begin to shrink. You start to degenerate. What that's going to do is that's going to send these stress signals to the brain. It's called nociceptive signals, but we're just going to keep it simple. There's these stress signals. These degenerative joints send stress signals to the brain. Then your brain reacts to that by releasing stress hormones, causing the entire same sequence that we just talked about. Increasing cholesterol, blood pressure. It's going to increase your body breakdown. It's going to decrease body healing, growth, repair. You're going to have lower memory. You're going to have all of that, all from just a degenerative joint. And most people don't just have one. Most people have several in their x-rays. So, here's the important part. When you have degeneration, when you have a body that's out of alignment, they don't necessarily always have pain. So a lot of them, this is completely independent of pain. And to further, because health is not how you feel. Health is absolutely not how you feel. In fact, the top two causes of death in today's world are cancer and heart attacks and heart disease. Now, when you look at what do you feel when you have heart disease? Well, the number one symptom is heart attack, because your heart is literally getting sicker and sicker for years and years. You don't feel your heart getting sick until all of a sudden you have a heart attack. So if you wait to feel heart disease, you're screwed. People with cancer, the number two cause of death. People have stage 4 cancer all the time and don't know it. They randomly just go for a preventative checkup and they find out they have cancer already. You know, they don't feel the process happening in their body because you don't feel that. We don't have sensation for that. So health is absolutely not how you feel. And that's why sometimes when people come in for a wellness checkup, we take an x-ray and they find like 6 degenerative joints. You know, they're surprised. Oh, I didn't feel any pain there. But their body's still going through that stress response. Their body is still very sick and unhealthy. And I'm sure you guys have seen very unhealthy people out there who don't feel pain. Even though they don't feel pain, you can just look at them and be like, well, they're not healthy. Because it's not how you feel. And even look in the dictionary. Health, it's all about function. It does not have anything to do with the absence of symptoms or disease. So with that said, if we adjust the spine, if we restore proper motion and proper alignment of the spine, what that's going to do, that's going to restore motion and alignment. It's going to decrease your blood pressure. It's going to decrease blood markers like your blood glucose, cholesterol. It's going to decrease body breakdown. So that means that we're actually going to start our anabolic activities, building each other up, having healing, growth, and repair, all those beneficial things. We're going to increase brain function. You're going to have, basically, you're going to increase overall health because we're going to basically be blocking the stress response from happening. And that's also why when you exercise, we always feel way more alert when we exercise. So the more energy we expend, the more energized we feel. And that's why when you sit down and do nothing all day, you feel like your brain's in a big fog. You feel lethargic. You feel just no energy. And how does that make sense? Because you're conserving all your energy all day. Don't you think that you'd be more energized because you have all this energy built up? No, because movement stimulates the brain. Chiropractic changes brain function because you're adding healthful motion in those spinal joints. And that's exactly, it just relates to exercise. The exact same thing. Movement is life, literally. And that's also why, again, when you're sedentary, when you're not moving, you're feeling sluggish. Because when you're not moving those joints, you're, instead of releasing all healthy signals to the brain, counteracting the stress response, you're going to be releasing those stress signals to the brain, initiating the stress response. And that's what we can't have. That's why it's always about walking barefoot, movement. We're all about the exercises here because you've got to get healthy. And we know that anytime we just get you moving at all, you're going to be getting healthy. So, to create health, you have to do just one thing. You have to decrease the chronic stressors in your life. And you can do that by 2 ways. You either just reduce the stressors flat out, or you improve your adaptive capabilities to adapt to those stressors. So, drugs, medications, do neither. In fact, they make you worse. Chiropractic, if done right, can do both. So that's why as chiropractors, we study physiology and not pathology. Because allopathic medicine, they define a lot of these changes as pathology, even though they're absolutely intelligent. And that's why you got to know the physiology of the body so you can help patients, so you can help people. So now, kind of going through a segue here, I want to talk about forward head carriage because this is so important. That's why we're all about cervical neck curves here. You see here, as that head goes forward, you're adding that much pounds of weight on your spine. Every inch your head's forward, you double the pressure on the discs and the spinal joints. So that's why it's so important to do your neck curve exercises, to restore that neck curve, to get your adjustments. Now look, this is just a couple of, I've digged up a ton of studies on the importance of your neck curve, and here you gotta check it out. If you lose your neck curve or you have a reverse curve, you can literally stretch your spinal cord and brainstem up to 7 centimeters. Now imagine, people go through their whole life with this. So imagine having a 7-centimeter pull on your brainstem and your spinal cord, your lifeline, for your entire life. Do you think you're going to be healthy? Heck no. Look at this. The loss of your cervical neck curve can reduce your respiratory capacity by 30%. Everyone push their head forward like this, right now. Now try to take a deep breath. Is it hard? Yes. Now imagine doing that for your entire life. If you get 30% less oxygen than the average person, do you think you're going to live a full life? Yeah. I mean, heck no. Heck no. A loss of curve causes a weak immune system, organ disease, muscle tension, and increased sensitivity to pain. Again, if our head is forward, these muscles are going to be tight, trying to pull your head back upright. So what does everyone want to do? They want to get massages because my muscles are tight. So if my head's forward, I massage these muscles, is that going to allow my head to go more forward or backwards? More forwards, because I'm relaxing these muscles, which is trying to pull my head up, allowing my head to go more forward, making my problem a whole lot worse, even though someone feels better temporarily. Again, it makes them more unhealthy even though they feel better temporarily, because health is not just a simple fix. It is a process. You got to actually work for it. Forward head carriage, or a loss of curve, blocks normal neck motion, and it dramatically reduces the amount of endorphins produced. So that means that healthy alignment and movement of the neck causes healthy endorphin release. Endorphins basically are pain relievers. So that means if you don't have healthy motion, if your head is forward, you're not going to be making endorphins. That means that they're going to have pain to stimulus that's not painful. They're going to have pain for everything. That is exactly what fibromyalgia is. And that's why it's exactly so important to restore their neck curve, and 100% of the time they'll get better. 100% of the time. Because they're not able, I mean, almost every single person with fibromyalgia, you take a neck x-ray, they either have a loss of curve or a complete reverse curve. So you've got to address the neck curve. You know, well, my pain's right here and here and here. It doesn't matter because they can't produce endorphins. So every stimuli they're experiencing is falsely causing a painful stimulus. So this research article says that a loss of curve in your neck causes, or it basically affects your eye function. It affects your posture, your balance, your gait, your TMJ muscle, and your whole complex here. Everyone bite down. Now, go back and forth, biting up and down, and bring your head forward. Do you feel that bottom jaw protrude out? Yes, because your jaw fits in like a puzzle piece, and it fits in in close proximity with your neck curve. So if your neck is thrown forward and have a reverse curve, that puzzle piece doesn't fit in properly anymore. That's why dentists hate TMJ patients, because they don't know how to fix it. But the only way to fix it is to restore the neck curve, because that way that jaw can fit in nicely in its groove. You can try all the muscle work, all the other stuff you want, but you're never going to fix the problem. So that makes sense. It affects your dexterity, you know, your hand muscle coordination, vertigo and tinnitus. Everyone has vertigo and tinnitus today. Jeez. Now, after all that I just showed you, this is the best part. This summarizes everything. A loss of your neck curve can increase mortality and can take up to 14 years off your lifespan. That's what the research says, and this is a conservative estimate. Does that surprise anybody? Sure. I mean, you're going to have 30% less oxygen your entire life because it diminishes respiratory capacity by 30%. You're affecting everything else. You can't produce endorphins. Of course, I mean, it's going to diminish mortality, or it's going to diminish your lifespan, but by 14 years, and that's a conservative estimate. So, you know, you're not here, guys, you're not here as patients to get rid of your pain. We're here to increase your function and to get healthy. Because someone that's experiencing health at 100%, do they have pain? No. So it will go away. But your goal has got to be health. Because if all you're interested in is pain relief, there's a liquor store right around the corner. That's way cheaper, I promise you, than this. But if your goal is to get healthy and have full function for life, there's no one else that can do this but us. But real chiropractic. Because we're actually the only ones that use the physiology of the body. Boom, baby, I like it. Now, this x-ray right here was a patient who came in. Do you think they're hurting? This is their neck curve. Now again, a normal neck curve starts here and should go around like this. So they have something called a reverse curve. In fact, their head is not only just has no curve, it's reversed by 26 degrees. One of the most severe ones I've seen. Now, she came in, of course she's in pain, but after 36 adjustments, just the first post x-ray, if we can do this for the same person, do you think she feels less pain? Yes. Of course. But more importantly, we're diminishing the stress response in the body. We're increasing brain function, all her organ function. We're increasing her immune system. We're increasing her body's health capacity. We're increasing her lifespan. Because no longer is her neck curve severe, because we all know now that a lack of curve causes a 14-year diminish of your lifespan. So this person is getting way more than just pain relief here, and that's what you got to look at. I mean, the science is clear, guys. And that's why, what does Albert Einstein always say? Get adjusted. I mean, he's famous for that. So guys, that was my main goal tonight, is just to show you that the chiropractic adjustment is not about pain relief, and it never was. Do chiropractors practice that now and only that? Yes, but it's really offensive to the name chiropractic, because that's never what the founders made it as. That's never what the premise was. It's always to adjust the spine to create health and function for life. Thank you. A lot of references there.